Mathematics has often been regarded as a dry subject, full of complex formulas that make our heads spin. But did you know that math has incredible real-life applications? In fact, sometimes mathematics can help solve mysteries in ways we'd never expect, like cracking a serious criminal case. The story that Decoder Box brings you today is closely tied to this very subject. This case is not only filled with mysterious details, but also showcases the clever use of mathematics by the police to solve it. Let's dive into this intriguing story together and uncover the truth behind the mystery. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Decoder Box. The mysterious disappearance of the younger sister. At the end of 2012, the police in the city of Xiamen, Fujian province, were enjoying the peaceful atmosphere of the year's end when they received an unexpected phone call. On the other end was the somber voice of a man, filled with deep sadness. He was reporting the sudden disappearance of his younger sister under unknown circumstances. The man's name was Li Xiang, and he explained that his sister, Li Cuihua, had gone missing without a trace. After taking in the information, the police immediately dispatched a team to the victim's home to search for clues. Li Xiang's house was tucked away in a narrow alley in Haizong district, Xiamen. Both Li Xiang and his sister had been orphaned at a young age and had relied on each other ever since. When the police arrived, they found Li Xiang in a state of shock, barely able to stand, clearly worried to the point of illness. After calming down, he recounted that he had lost contact with his sister on October 26th. That day, when he came home from work, Li Cuihua happily greeted him at the door. During lunch, she mentioned that she planned to go shopping that afternoon since she had the day off. Everything seemed normal. She even promised to come back early to prepare a big dinner. However, by the afternoon, Li Xiang and others tried calling her multiple times, but there was no answer. A clue from the broken frame. Fearing the worst, Li Xiang and his friends began searching for Li Cuihua, but after several days, there were no leads. The police immediately launched an investigation. Detective Zhang Lei, the deputy head of the criminal investigation team, ordered his subordinates to search Li Cuihua's house for clues. During the search, they discovered a family photo frame with 3 people in it, sitting on a small table near the bed. The photo showed Li Cuihua, a young girl, and a man they didn't recognize. Strangely, the glass in the frame was shattered, with pieces still on the floor, suggesting it had only recently broken and no one had cleaned it up. The investigators asked Li Xiang about the man and child in the picture. He explained that the man was Li Cuihua's ex-husband, and the child was their daughter. They had been a happy family until Li Cuihua and her husband had irreconcilable differences, leading to their divorce 6 months earlier. The photo on the table was one of the last family pictures they took together during the new year. Li Xiang's niece had placed the picture there because she missed her father and wanted to see his face every day. Li Xiang speculated that his niece might have accidentally knocked over the photo frame, but the investigators considered another possibility, that Li Cuihua, in a fit of anger, had thrown it to the ground. This detail was immediately logged into the case file. Since there were no signs of stolen items, the police ruled out the possibility that Li Cuihua had run away. They continued their investigation by questioning the neighbors. Everyone reported that Li Cuihua and her brother had a good relationship and had never been known to argue. One neighbor even mentioned that she had seen Li Cuihua leave the house in the early afternoon on the day she disappeared, looking cheerful and showing no signs of distress. As the investigation progressed, another team of police officers was assigned to review traffic accidents in the area. They discovered an unidentified female body at the city morgue and asked Li Xiang to come in for identification. Rushing to the scene, Li Xiang cried and prayed that it wasn't his sister, though the victim's face was disfigured from the accident. Based on the overall body shape, Li Xiang confirmed that it wasn't Li Tsuehua. The victim disappears between two cameras. Just as the case hit a dead end, Li Xiang provided a crucial lead. He remembered that his sister, Li Tsuehua, had recently bought a watch from a nearby store as a gift for her daughter. However, the watch was a bit loose, and she had asked her brother to take their niece back to the store to exchange it. Knowing how busy his sister was, Li Xiang had agreed. Li Tsuehua had told him she would leave the watch in her drawer, but when he checked, it was gone. Li Xiang speculated that his sister might have gone to the store herself that afternoon to exchange the watch and had disappeared afterward. Upon hearing this, the police asked for the store's address and immediately went to investigate. Just as expected, on the afternoon of October 26th, Li Tsuehua had indeed visited the watch shop near the shopping center. She appeared cheerful and chatted casually with the staff, showing no signs of distress. After exchanging the watch, she walked out and strolled down the sidewalk. It was 2 p.m. on the 26th. Initially, the police theorized that Li Tsuehua might have been followed and kidnapped by someone. She had a fashionable appearance and had just left a jewelry store, which might have led someone to believe she was wealthy and made her a target. The police quickly began to comb the area around the shop and analyze the crime scene. The watch store was located near the train station, with a one-way street and a fixed median in front of it. 20 meters to the east of the store was a residential area surveillance camera, and 30 meters to the west, there was a hotel's camera. These two cameras were positioned 50 meters apart, but strangely, neither camera captured any footage of Li Tsuehua. This meant she had vanished within the 50-meter stretch between the two cameras. Analyzing the scene, Officer Zheng Lei concluded that if Li Tsuehua had been kidnapped, it seemed unlikely to happen in broad daylight, as it would have been difficult for the abductors to act unnoticed. Moreover, Li Tsuehua could have screamed for help if she were in danger. Still, to leave no stone unturned, the police decided to review all street cameras in the area, hoping to catch sight of a suspicious person. But in a bustling neighborhood with a constant flow of pedestrians, identifying unusual behavior proved to be extremely challenging. The police then turned to the possibility that Li Tsuehua may have entered one of the shops in the 50-meter stretch not covered by surveillance cameras. Hoping for a clue, along this section, there were two businesses, a coffee shop and a household goods store. It was possible that Li Tsuehua had stopped at one of these places. The investigation team, dressed in plain clothes, quietly approached the coffee shop first. After showing Li Tsuehua's photo to both customers and staff, no one recognized her. They then moved to the nearby household goods store. But the shop owner was adamant that he had never seen Li Tsuehua. Most of his customers were men, so he would have remembered if a woman had stopped by. One by one, the theories were ruled out. There were no signs that Li Tsuehua had entered any of the stores within the 50-meter blind spot between the cameras, and the likelihood of an attack seemed low. The police presented three possibilities. First, Li Tsuehua might have taken a bus, but there were no bus stops within that 50-meter stretch. Second, she could have crossed the median to the other side of the street, but there was a large supermarket there, and its surveillance cameras didn't record her either. The third possibility was that she had taken a taxi or had been picked up by someone in a car. This seemed the most plausible, but with so many cars passing by, most of them with their windows rolled up, identifying her would be a significant challenge. As the investigation team struggled to find clues, they noticed several manhole covers along the street and began to consider the possibility that Li Tsuehua might have accidentally fallen into the sewer. Not wanting to overlook any potential leads, they called in environmental workers to conduct a thorough search. After some time, in the murky water, they found what appeared to be long strands of hair. However, when they pulled it out, it turned out to be nothing more than a discarded wig, tossed away by someone. With every theory exhausted, the case began to stall. A healthy young woman, Li Tsuehua, had vanished in a bustling public area. and no one knew where she had gone. The police had no leads, and Li Tsuehua seemed to have disappeared without a trace. After several meetings, Deputy Officer Lei realized that the only way to break the deadlock was to delve into her social relationships. A victim with complex relationships. Further investigation revealed that Li Tsuehua, 24 years old, had recently gone through a divorce. She worked as a hostess at a karaoke bar and had a rather complicated social life. This led the police to focus on two key individuals, her ex-husband and some of her close colleagues or clients. Recalling the detail of the broken photo frame in her home, the police suspected that there might have been a heated argument between Li Tsuehua and her ex-husband on the day she disappeared. To clarify this, they summoned her ex-husband, Zhang Xiaochu, a 30-year-old man originally from Zhejiang province. According to his testimony, Zhang Xiaochu was an honest man but prone to jealousy. During their time living together, he was often upset by Li Tsuehua's job, which required her to work late hours and interact with many men. However, he felt powerless since his own income was low, and the family relied heavily on her salary for living expenses. 6 months earlier, during a heated argument, Zhang lost his temper and shoved Li Tsuehua, causing her to fall and hit her head. After that incident, Li Tsuehua insisted on a divorce. Despite Zhang's repeated apologies, their daughter stayed with Li Tsuehua, while Zhang was responsible for child support payments. Li Xiang, Li Tsuehua's brother, mentioned that Zhang had recently been facing financial difficulties and had not been able to send the full child support payments, which led to more arguments. Because of this, Li Tsuehua had stopped allowing Zhang to visit their daughter, forcing him to sneak over to see her when Li Tsuehua wasn't home. On October 25th, Zhang went to visit again but was caught by Li Tsuehua, leading to a loud argument where she angrily berated him. On the day Li Tsuehua disappeared, a witness reported seeing Zhang Xiaochu loitering near her house. The police summoned him for questioning. Zhang admitted that on the morning of October 26th, he had gone to visit his daughter, but since Li Tsuehua was home, he couldn't enter the house. After waiting for her to leave, he went inside to see his daughter. This was confirmed by his daughter's testimony. However, when the police reviewed surveillance footage from the area, they found no evidence of Zhang being at the location where Li Tsuehua disappeared. Just as the case seemed to be progressing, it hit another dead end. However, during their investigation, the police uncovered a new lead. At 3:30 p.m. on October 26th, an hour and a half after Li Tsuehua's disappearance, someone accessed her bank account using a mobile banking app. This raised an important question. Was Li Tsuehua the one who checked the account, or was it someone else? And if it wasn't her, who did it? And what connection did they have to her disappearance? A week had passed since Li Tsuehua went missing, and her family and friends were growing increasingly worried. They believed this wasn't a typical kidnapping for ransom, as no one had received any threatening calls or messages. All they could do was wait for updates from the police, hoping for good news. Although the possibility that Li Tsuehua had met with danger was looming, the investigation team continued working day and night, determined to crack the case as quickly as possible. While reviewing her call logs, the police discovered that at 2 p.m. on October 26th, a strange phone number had called Li Tsuehua 3 times in quick succession. The police attempted to call the number, but it was no longer in service. The investigation revealed that this number had never contacted Li Tsuehua before, which immediately raised suspicion. The police believed that tracing this number could provide a crucial lead. However, in 2012, phone registration systems weren't as strict as they are today, and the number turned out to be a disposable one, making it impossible to trace the owner. A friend's testimony. The case was becoming more complicated by the day. Deputy Officer Zhang Lei suspected that the culprit wasn't an ordinary person. It could be a criminal gang or someone with experience, acting quickly and leaving no trace. Continuing to investigate Li Tsuehua's social connections, the police discovered that she had recently had some tense conversations with a close friend named Xiao Guo. Xiao Guo was a close friend of Li Tsuehua, often seen going shopping or hanging out with her. People around them speculated that their relationship seemed to be more than just friendship. However, while Li Tsuehua only saw Xiao Guo as a friend, he was persistently trying to pursue her. Xiao Guo had a reputation for being lazy, violent, and having a gambling habit, which is why Li Tsuehua paid him no attention. What made things even more suspicious was that on the day Li Tsuehua disappeared, Xiao Guo also vanished. The police immediately launched an investigation and quickly tracked him down. He was hiding in his hometown in Qinglu County. Neighbors reported seeing Xiao Guo return about 2 weeks earlier, accompanied by a mysterious woman. The police suspected that this woman could be Li Tsuehua. When searching Xiao Guo's house, the police found a woman's jacket, which led them to arrest him for questioning. During interrogation, Xiao Guo became visibly nervous, his hands trembling as he spoke. He admitted that the jacket belonged to Li Tsuehua, who had left it behind when she visited him 2 weeks earlier. According to Xiao Guo, after that visit, he took Li Tsuehua back to Xiamen and hadn't seen her since. Xiao Guo confessed to having large gambling debts and fleeing from loan sharks, but he insisted that he had nothing to do with Li Tsuehua's disappearance. To verify his statement, the police investigated his whereabouts on October 26th and confirmed that he had been at a gambling den that day, giving him a solid alibi. Though Xiao Guo was arrested for illegal gambling, he was cleared as a suspect in Li Tsuehua's case. Once again, the investigation hit a dead end, and leads on Li Tsuehua's whereabouts grew scarcer. No one knew if she was still alive. After the investigation into the suspects yielded no results, the police decided to return to the scene of her disappearance and carefully reanalyze every detail. The race against time, a mathematical formula to crack the case. The stretch of road where Li Tsuehua vanished was a one-way street, where all vehicles could only move in a straight line. The police hypothesized that Li Tsuehua may have gotten into a car heading from east to west. They combed through various vehicles, including taxis and buses, but no new clues emerged from these sources. The only remaining possibility was that she had entered a private car. Despite narrowing down the scope of the investigation, new challenges arose. That afternoon, hundreds of private cars had passed through the stretch of road where Li Tsuehua disappeared. The police scrutinized every frame of surveillance footage, but the images were blurry, and the cars moved too quickly, making it extremely difficult to identify anyone inside. Even though it was possible that Li Tsuehua had gotten into a car, the police had no idea which one. The investigation faced significant obstacles, but the Special Task Force had no intention of giving up. During a meeting, Deputy Officer Zhang Lei calmly suggested that sometimes the most illogical clues can lead to the truth. In a bustling city, a person couldn't simply vanish without a trace. The clue had to lie among the private cars that passed through that road on that day. The pressing issue was how to identify all these vehicles when the surveillance footage was too blurry and the cars were moving too fast, making license plate recognition nearly impossible. Back at home, still pondering the case, Zhang Lei was unexpectedly asked by his son to help with homework involving the formula for calculating distance as speed multiplied by time. This sparked an important idea. Calculating the travel time of each vehicle might help identify the suspect car. Without delay, Zhang Lei returned to the station and presented his theory during a meeting. He explained that the stretch of road where Li Tsuehua disappeared was 50 meters long, and the average speed of cars passing through was about 60 kilometers per hour, meaning each car took roughly 3 seconds to traverse it. But if any car took longer, it might have stopped to pick someone up, perhaps Li Tsuehua. The culprit revealed. The police set out to calculate the transit time of every car that passed through the area. Among hundreds of vehicles, a Subaru SUV caught their attention because it took nearly a minute to cover the stretch, whereas other cars took only about 3 seconds. The police were certain that there were no accidents or traffic jams at that time, so this vehicle likely stopped to pick someone up. However, the surveillance footage was too blurry to see inside the car or to determine if Li Tsuehua was there. Despite this, the police decided to investigate the vehicle thoroughly. The owner of the SUV was Wang Nanbing, a native of Xiamen with a prior record for theft, who currently ran a bridal gown shop. Suspiciously, Wang had recently rented an apartment in the northern part of Xiamen, even though he already owned a house in the southern part of the city. The police suspected that Wang Nanbing's rented apartment might have been where he held Li Tsuehua captive. When they investigated, the landlord revealed that Wang had rented the apartment for only about 10 days before suddenly moving out, leaving behind the security deposit and even cleaning the place thoroughly before his departure. The police searched the apartment and found a few strands of hair and some dried bloodstains on the mattress. However, after DNA testing, it was confirmed that the samples did not belong to Li Tsuehua. Just as the case seemed to stall again, one of the officers happened to collect additional footage of Wang Nanbing's SUV. This time, the driver wasn't Wang Nanbing but another man who appeared rather suspicious. Notably, this man had been seen multiple times at Wang's residence, entering and leaving freely. The police began to question whether this man was involved in the case and what his relationship with Wang was. Further investigation revealed that the man driving the SUV was Chen Kachong, a friend of Wang Nanbing. The police immediately split into 2 teams, one to follow Chen Kachong and the other to monitor Wang Nanbing. To avoid alarming the suspects and risking their escape, they decided to approach the situation carefully. The breakthrough came when the police received information that Wang Nanbing had driven the SUV to a coffee shop near his house. Deputy Officer Zhang Lei and 3 plainclothes officers headed to the location. They entered the cafe and sat near Wang, starting a casual conversation that eventually led to them asking about the SUV. When Wang admitted that the vehicle belonged to him, the police decided to bring him in for questioning, citing the vehicle's connection to a missing person case. The confession. At the station, Wang Nanbing was uncooperative and firmly denied knowing who Li Tsuehua was. One of the investigators suggested using a psychological tactic by taking Wang to the apartment he had rented in northern Xiamen. As soon as they neared the apartment, Wang's composure crumbled. He broke down and confessed that he and Chen Kachong had kidnapped Li Tsuehua on October 26th. However, Wang tried to shift the blame, claiming that it was all Chen's idea and that he had been forced to comply out of fear that Chen would harm him and his family if he didn't cooperate. The police immediately moved to arrest Chen Kachong. However, Chen's testimony was entirely different from Wang Nanbing's. Chen claimed that it was Wang who lured him into the plan to rob Li Tsuehua. As both of them were in desperate need of money, Chen denied any involvement in the murder and shifted all responsibility onto Wang. Throughout the investigation, both suspects continued to blame each other. Eventually, Chen Kachong admitted to being involved in the crime but denied being the mastermind. Wang Nanbing, after much pressure, finally confessed to the entire scheme. According to Wang Nanbing's confession, after being released from prison, he tried to rebuild his life. However, his gambling addiction and mounting debts led him to sell his bridal gown shop. The car he had been driving was a rental, which he used to create the illusion of wealth. Wang came up with the idea to rob Li Tsuehua, a karaoke hostess, after she had served him during one of his visits to the establishment. On October 26th, Wang used a disposable SIM card to call and arrange a meeting with Li Tsuehua near the watch store. When Li Tsuehua met Wang, she had no reason to be suspicious and got into his car. Wang then drove her to the rented apartment. Once she realized something was wrong, Li Tsuehua screamed for help, but Chen Kachong knocked her unconscious. The 2 men tied her up and forced her to reveal her bank card's PIN. However, when they discovered that Li Tsuehua's account didn't contain much money, Wang became enraged and strangled her to death. After the murder, they disposed of her body by dumping it into the sea. Despite Wang's confession, the police needed concrete evidence. A thorough examination of the rented apartment revealed traces of human tissue in the bathroom, which was later confirmed to belong to Li Tsuehua. With this damning evidence, both Wang Nanbing and Chen Kachong were arrested and charged. A pricey lesson behind the case. The mysterious disappearance of Li Tsuehua, which seemed to have reached a dead end, was ultimately solved thanks to a simple mathematical formula. This case left many people amazed at how mathematics can be applied in real-life investigations. One important lesson stands out. Whether you are a man or a woman, it is essential to protect yourself, especially when meeting new people. Being cautious is never excessive, whether you are in a bustling city or a quiet rural area. What are your thoughts on the twists and turns of this case? Let us know in the comments below. Thank you for watching today's video, and don't forget to like and subscribe to Decoder Box for more thrilling cases from around the world. Goodbye, and we'll see you in the next video.